Hi, my name's Dubois, and I'm an artist and filmmaker, and I currently live in Vancouver. I frequently think about kind of like my own history, my family history, and then in the context of larger society, how those things come into play. I also like to examine just the kind of nuances and subtleties of our interpersonal relationships, the way that people relate to one another. In my photography and more, traditional artworks, I find myself looking at my own past, and specifically the past of my family. So the work that I have included in the auction is called Recurring View, and it's a piece that I made riffing off of my grandparents' work. My grandparents are Iain and Ingrid Baxter, and they were anything company back in the 60s and 70s. The work has an interesting date placed on it. It's 1968, 2002, 2012, 2019, because the original photograph that Netco did, which is Start Viewing, was taken in 1968, then printed in 2002. I made this work in 2012, but then it was printed in 2019. So the piece is a overlay of two images. It's the Start Viewing by Netco and then my own image that I took in the same location. I saw this image, I found it looking through my grandparents' old work, and I was like, hey, I know where that is. I walk that with the dog all the time. So I went back to that exact location, did my best to kind of frame it in the same way that my grandparents did, snapped it, and then they're overlaid, but certain parts are taken away and certain parts are more pronounced. So you can see sort of the change in the scenery, which pokes at the change in the history. The ambiguities in the piece are interesting when you think back to the history of Netco, and how a lot of works have circulated and we're not sure necessarily where they ended up. So the sort of like ambiguity in the image and not being able to tell which is 1968, which is 2012, plays with that theme a little bit. And riffing off of their stuff, like there's always so much in a very simple work of Netco. And so I'm really inspired by that. And I tried to do that with this piece as well.